Me, a president of a university? I don't have any academic background. The faculty would never accept me. And it would be chaos. Go find somebody that meets their criteria. And it went on for a while, and then finally Doug Burns, who happens to be the chairman of the Board of Regents currently, was the chairman of that search committee. And he and I were talking about something, and he said, and you're still not interested in this job? And I said, well, Doug, I don't think it's good for the university. I don't think it's the right fit. Moreover, as a regent, I'd have to resign, and it'd be a year before I could take the job. So you'd be back into next summer before we do this. And he just said, why don't you go ahead and resign from the board if you're really interested in it? And then, if the worst comes to worst, you just got out of some boring meetings. I was born in 1945, and my father was a geophysicist, and so he was, for a good part of his career, a seismograph party chief. And so you never anywhere very long, and from months to never even a year. So I moved all the time growing up. We lived all over Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Canada, and then Dad had moved into management. And so we were a little more stable, but it was hard going to new schools, especially when your first name's Vaden and your middle name's Burns, and you have red hair. So when I was a sophomore, second semester sophomore, in Shreveport, Louisiana, we moved to Oklahoma, and that was really the first time I had been in Oklahoma and knew anything about Oklahoma. I went for my last 2 years of high school here and really liked it a lot, and decided that I'd come to OSU. All my family are University of Texas people. Clear to my great-grandfather, who was in the first law class. But I just didn't want to start over again. I didn't want to move again, so I came to Oklahoma State, and I got a degree in accounting. And then I went to OU and got a degree in law. And after the Army, I practiced law for almost 30 years. And then I got into banking. And I was in banking for 10 years. I did have a TV show for about 15 years starting in the early 90s and going till I came here. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version. With my ego, I was able to quickly go from thinking it was nuts to I was perfect, for the job. But just as I said, the things that I do every day, and I think should be done by the president of any university, it's hard to learn in a classroom. You can pick it up in the job, but if you've never done it before, it's going to take a while. You can't do it all yourself. There's no way. And so you have to be able to find talent and pick the right talent. And while I may not have great academic gifts, I think I'm pretty good at figuring that part of it out. In many ways, I think Boone Pickett's had a lot to do with me getting this job. He's never claimed that, but he has been a remarkable influence on me, and especially in these days, but shortly before I took this job and all during it. Henry Bellman was, of course, a governor twice and a two-term senator, and I worked around and with Henry Bellman for a lot of years, and I really, really admire you. We're very different people, personality-wise. Henry was very introverted but very thoughtful and had a backbone of steel. And he just didn't worry about the politics of things. He was going to do what he thought was right. I really began to think of what OSU really needed and what I could provide. And first of all, we needed just somebody to run the operation. I mean, people, when you think about it, this is a huge operation. It's $1.3 billion budget. There's probably 8,000 employees. There's another 35,000 or 36,000 students on all 5 campuses. So it's a big management operation, just alone. The second thing is we needed money. I mean, I knew how badly we needed money. We had been declining enrollment for about 4 or 5 years. And then lastly, this is just a very political job, and both externally and internally. And I had spent a lot of time in politics externally with the legislature and the Congress and the like. Woodrow Wilson, when he ran for governor of New Jersey, was president of Princeton. And a reporter asked him why he was running for governor, and he said, to get out of politics. Being around 25,000 20-year-olds is pretty great. I mean, they put out a lot of energy. They're just they're excited about life. It's just fresh and new and exciting. And so that's far and away the best. The worst has been dealing with the tragedies that we've had. The plane crash, the homecoming tragedy. It seems like every year we have 1 or 2 students that die from sometimes things that shouldn't have happened. And that's the hardest part, picking that phone up and calling those parents and consoling them as best I can. That's the hardest. I think people sort of thought we were just a bunch of, poor, whatever. And I knew better than that. I knew that a lot of our graduates had, there's a lot of ways to be successful, but have been financially successful, which people seem to usually think of the most when they think of success. And so I think that's made a difference. I can just see it in I spent all my professional career until I came here in Oklahoma City, which is a very big OU town. And the comments about OSU over the years have been pretty derisive. I've never been in a job where so many people care what I do. When you think about it, as a lawyer, my clients cared what I did. My family cared that I made enough to bring the money home. But here, a lot of people care about what I do. With Twitter, people are going to say bad things. That's just part of it, and you just can't let it bother you. Like for example, when they want me to close school for snow, it'll be at Burns Hargis, man up, close school. Don't put my child at risk, all that stuff. One of the real treasures of this job has been that for the first time in our marriage, and it will be 49 years in June, we've worked really as a team professionally. Ann was a computer engineer, one of the early IBM female computer engineers. I just barely spell computer. And of course I was a lawyer, so we really did not have much understanding of what the other did. And while we worked in volunteer things together a lot, and raised children together and made a home life together, we didn't professionally work together like this. And that has just been a real blessing of this job. And I couldn't do it without her. We cover so much more ground because she's as active and loves it as much as I do. If you show genuine respect for people, regardless of their status in life, and you are deferential to their presence, and you can empathize with their circumstances, you're going to be okay. That's kind of the way, and it always. I think my dad preached that a lot, but you have to do it. But I really think where most people fail on many levels and in many aspects of life, is they just don't genuinely respect the people that they're dealing with. And so regardless of anybody's position on this campus, whether they're out there raking leaves or they're dealing with billions of dollars in research, I try to treat them all the same. And I think if you do that, they're gonna kind of join in with you on what you're trying to do.